Good afternoon, I'm Nicholas Atulo live from Nairobi, Kenya. We welcome all our viewers from Kenya and around the world. This is the Prime Talk Show, where we'll be giving you topics on science, politics, health and many others. But first, let us head to the news headlines. The Ethiopian government has voted to lift the state of emergency, which was imposed in February and was to last for 6 months. No member of parliament opposed the decision, but 8 abstained from the vote. Serena Williams pulled out of the French Open before the 4th round match with Sharapova because of an injury that affected her serve. The 23-time Grand Slam winner returned to tennis after giving birth to her first child. Chinese government pushes harmful gender roles onto leftover women. The state is running an organization that is promoting a damaging narrative about women's obedience to fix social issues. So this afternoon we'll be talking about the China government imposing harmful laws on the leftover women. The All China Women Federation, commonly known as the ACWF, along with local branches, are the parties promoting gender equality in China. In the past, it advocated for gender advancement and empowerment in the labor field, and it also spoke against the gender discrimination in the employment field. As such, by Human Rights Watch shows that the women's biggest virtue lies in what she does for her husband and also her children. And today we'll be talking about what is the place of the women, because we know in the past days, or we can say in the traditional ways, where the woman was just seen as the puppet to the man, or maybe we can say she was just there to make sure that the kids are okay and the house is okay. To come back in Kenya, a few weeks ago, a woman was thrown out of the restaurant because of breastfeeding her child. The question will be, what is the place of the women in the society? But first, we are having our correspondent in the field, Angela Monzia.
In 2010, Kenya adopted a new constitution that radically changed the organization of its political institutions. Key among its provisions were clauses for greater gender representation. The constitution states that not more than 2/3 of members of the elective bodies can be of the same gender. Thus, there is a clear constitutional framework that supports equitable gender representation, but implementation has proved elusive. Part of the reason is that the Constitution does not prescribe how the 2/3 gender requirement for Parliament should be met. In 2017, a bill was tabled in Parliament by the Murang'a woman representative Sabina Chege, proposing that employers and owners of buildings with more than 30 female occupants to set aside special rooms where breastfeeding mothers can express milk for their infants. Following the incident in one of Nairobi's restaurants where a woman was allegedly told to cover up while breastfeeding her child or feed the girl in a restroom, a group of women took it to the streets demonstrating the act by the restaurant's staff. The demonstrators say eateries and other businesses need to support mothers who choose to breastfeed in public spaces. This brings us to the question whether gender discrimination and women empowerment is really embraced in Kenya. For the Prime Talk Show, I am Angela Monzia.
I'm now joined live by Angela Monzia, and now the question will be, what's your take according to the takes that you've taken from the people that you've been interviewing?
Well, Kenya has come a long way on matters of gender discrimination and women empowerment. We have a lot of laws passed in Parliament on the same, and the only problem comes during the implementation stage, and that is what we should work on as Kenyans.
Thank you so much. And now I can see Kamash099 on Twitter saying women play a major role in the society. #respect our mothers. Thank you so much, Kamash. And now, if you want to join the conversation, just go on Twitter at Nicholas Atulo 2 or the Prime Talk. And on the topic that we have this afternoon, we are now joined by Irene Kimani, a counselor from Daystar University. Welcome. And so, what's your take on the woman who was thrown out of the restaurant for breastfeeding?
Yeah, so my name is Irene Kimani. I'm a student's counselor at Dexter University, both Nairobi and Athi River. So about the incident is very unfortunate because the woman was doing what is naturally done. A woman breastfeeding with her child. And to our psychologists, breastfeeding is very important because it's a way of bonding with your child. And you know, a child has instant needs and you cannot wait. So maybe the child cried and the woman thought that I would sort this issue without any issue. Yeah.
What do you think is the place of the women in the society?
Unfortunately, things have changed. Breastfeeding is taken to be very private, very personal, and it should not be out there. But in our own traditional setting, it was open, it was natural. No one would even think twice if you start breastfeeding your baby wherever. So I think it's us to now see. We have to define who we are. We have to see what we want to be. For women to match their shoes that, you know, maybe such cases have been happening and people have been keeping quiet, but they felt this for the lady to be actually thrown out, it was not right. Okay, so the challenge now we have is cultural. Because in our traditional African setting, there was no issue. Feed your baby anytime with our weather, you know it's warm weather, so even clothes are not much of an issue. But now we have adapted another culture, Western, and it has made things awkward. And then, you know, long time in an African setting, we had the open space, we could enjoy, you know, we had a whole compound to ourselves. But nowadays, you have restrained places and formal places and places where, you know, they expect some certain standards to occur. So sometimes changing a baby in public can offend some people. Why? Because maybe they think this is a private thing which should happen at home. This is a place which is formal and people who have come here have come to do something. So it also depends on the place, the people, and the circumstances. But most people nowadays, even churches, they have places for children. Some offices have designated a place, like some mothers, if you don't have a house help, they have a place, a daycare in the office center where you can take care of your child. And same to some public places. But restaurants and other places, it now depends on the establishment.
Thank you so much, madam. And to have a man's perspective, we have Reverend Josephat Musili, the Dexter University chaplain. Thank you so much, sir. And to our first question again, what is your take concerning the matter that a woman was thrown out of the restaurant for breastfeeding her kid?
Well, thank you. That's a good question. My name is Josephat Musili, assistant chaplain in Liberty campus. That was a very unfortunate happening because it doesn't find any justification whatsoever. And so for me, I would say that that lady was mishandled, disrespected, and wasn't treated the right way. So that was wrong as far as I'm concerned.
What is the place of the women in the society?
I would say that some African cultures have had a problem of placing women where they belong. Some cultures have viewed women as inferior people. Even those that are married will view women as inferior partners. And then so we've allowed the culture to define who women are. From where I stand as a Christian and as a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ, I would say that both man and woman are created in the image and the likeness of God. And they are equal in value, in worth, in dignity. And they deserve to be treated with respect. And therefore our limitations to that very understanding has been because of our cultures. And you know, cultures define societies. And so that then limits our perception and our understanding and how we women handle women.
So I have another question for you, Reverend. Do you think it makes men uncomfortable when a woman breastfeeds?
It may have those two sides. One is where we want to make a big big thing out of breastfeeding, when actually is a normal occurrence. It happens all the time, all over the place. And this is a child who is feeding. And if the women have not have a problem feeding those very children, breastfeeding, I don't understand why it becomes a big issue. However, borrowing from the trends, where we now set even places for smoking and all these funny other places, then I think it probably could also be necessary to avoid such embarrassments, to have designated places that are not just for breastfeeding, but also for changing children, those probably that use diapers and such like, so that women will also not feel like they don't have a space, and their children will suffer like for a whole day. But from looking at it from a very layman's point of view, I do not understand why breastfeeding a child becomes a big issue. Because, I mean, it's just the mother and the kid. Doesn't disturb anyone's comfort if the mother is willing to do it.
And finally, we are joined by Dr. Maingi from Daystar University. And the question is, what is the place of the women in the society concerning the matter that we had?
Women are equal to men, so there at the top we should all be together, side to side.
And what do you think should be done to have these cases reduced?
I think that was very unfair to the woman and to the baby. Everyone has that right to feed. It's a restaurant, people should be allowed to feed, even the babies. Yes, so as a society, I don't think that is the right thing to do. Women should have space to do, okay, that is not a crime in this society. And alienating women, telling them breastfeeding is a crime, it's going back to the, is it the 16th century, where women were put down? Everyone has a right, and that shouldn't happen.
And the rest, that is Irene Kimani and Reverend Josephat Musili, for having the time to be with us today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cliff, and we are left with no time. But before we end this show, what we can just say is, according to what the people have been saying, is a woman plays a major role in the society, just as Cliff said. But the point is, we should not misunderstand them, we should not misjudge them. This woman trying to breastfeed her kid was not something new to everyone. Each and every person has been there, so we should respect every act. It's just like a call of nature, and it should supposed to be respected, because without it, then we are not supposed even to be here. Thank you so much for joining. This has been the Prime Talk Show with me, Nicholas Atulo. Till next time, bye.